There's nothing better than watching your biggest rival just absolutely crap the bed and lose in excruciating fashion. I mean, you got to think that Packers fans get a kick out of when Vikings fans lose in that fashion. And whoever your favorite team is, you got to take a little pleasure when your biggest rival loses like this, right? Because the Packers were up 16-0 at halftime, blew that lead. Mike McCarthy twice decided to kick the field goal within the 1-yard line. No, not on, within the 1-yard line in the first half, instead of going for the gusto, instead of going for the end zone. And it cost him in the end. It was McCarthy he was just scared to win, and he was coaching not to lose. And the thing is about that Green Bay defense is the first half they were balling out. They picked off Russell Wilson 4 times in that game, even though it should have been 6, looking at you, Clinton Dix. They eased off at the end. They went into the whole prevent mode. And Dom Capers, as much grief as I give him, called a pretty solid game early on. You know, Clay Matthews was playing great. Clinton Dix is playing awesome as well. They were controlling Lynch in the first half, and that's the key to beating Seattle. Yeah, controlling Marshawn Lynch forced Russell Wilson to beat you. He wasn't doing it early on. Actually, he wasn't doing it for most of the game, but then got hot late through 2 touchdowns, including the game winner. And, you know, Russell Wilson saying that, you know, God made him throw the 4 INTs to lead the comeback. I don't know about all that, but you got to respect the kid's toughness and resolve, the way he brought them back at the end, although this is the type of quarterback I think he is. Throughout most of the game, he can come up clutch when he needs to, but he is a guy who's, if you force him to be in front of the pocket, he doesn't have a running game. I don't know if he can do that. I don't know if he can win like that. And if the Seahawks do end up winning the Super Bowl, actually win, lose, or draw, he is in line to be the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And I still don't believe he is the best quarterback in the NFL. Even though Andrew Luck got humbled in the AFC title game, I'll still take Andrew Luck over Russell Wilson. But that's neither here nor there. And the Packers, back on the Packers, there was just so many times where if one play goes a different way, the Packers easily win. And I can't remember a game like that where there's any of like 5 or 6 plays that go the other way, the Packers easily win. Like, Clinton Dix missing that easy interception in the second half that could have sealed it. Morgan Burnett actually picking off Wilson for the 4th time and then ends up kneeling on the ball. Kneeling instead of trying to run for the end zone, which, yes, Julius Peppers did instruct him to go down. If Peppers would have turned around and blocked at all, I think Burnett walks into the end zone because Wilson would have been the only one who had an angle on him. And the game wasn't over. The game was not over by any stretch because the Packers decided to run the ball 3 straight times, did not get a first down, did not trust Aaron Rodgers to try and throw for a first down like they did in the Dallas game, and gave the ball back to Seattle. Lynch ended up scoring a touchdown to tie the game, and they also give up that YOLO 2-point conversion, and then, of course, Brandon Bostic botches the onside kick. He was supposed to block. He tried to be the hero, grab the ball. Jordan Nelson's in perfect position to cover up that onside kick. Nope. Goodbye. Bye, Felicia. And speaking of bye, Felicia, the whole Seahawks fans that left the game early and couldn't get back in, the whole photo of them watching through the glass doors on the television inside the concourse, that is gorgeous. That is gorgeous because I'm sure there are a ton of very hardcore Seattle Seahawks fans. I know Dana is one of them for sure, but there are so many bandwagon fans, and this was just a perfect encapsulation of this because you don't leave the conference title game. No matter what the score is, anything can happen, and you deserve to be out in the cold, literally. Well, not out in the cold because it's an outdoor stadium, but you deserve to be locked out of the game because you left early. Because you are just as bad as Miami Heat fans that left, was it Game 6 of the NBA Finals where Ray Allen hit that shot? And you deserve to be out. Bye. And I don't know. No one's talking about the Super Bowl, which is a shame. And with the whole Patriots being the villains again, it is kind of a shame that the Seahawks are like everyone's heroes now, because I don't know if they can handle more bandwagon fans, but it seems like they might. I don't know, but we'll see. I like Russell Wilson. I don't think he's an elite franchise quarterback. I think he does great with the running game and the defense that they give him, but you have to give him props for having the resolve after throwing 4 touchdowns to lead them all the way back and throw that game-winning touchdown in overtime. Gotta give him credit there. But I'm still rooting for the Patriots, even though they are the villain. I do not think that they knowingly cheated, but I guess we'll see. And we're up against the second break. We'll be back in segment 3 with NFL coaching shuffles, Doug Marrone, LOL, some Andy Dalton shade, and some other non-football stuff. Will be RB with just me on Claire-Vs-Carlson Show, episode 21. The Purple for the Win podcast is your one-stop shop for the team you hate that you love. That's right, dedicated to the pain and pleasure that is the Minnesota Vikings. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube for our weekly and bi-weekly mediocrity. And, of course, there's always purpleftw.com. Because, you know, aside from nipple clamps and chains and whips, cheering for the Purple People Eaters is probably the most pleasurable pain you can experience on this planet. So come on in for the mediocre analysis and the more mediocre humor. PurpleFTW.com. That's right, PurpleFTW.com.
Straight cash, homie.
And we're back for the third period, as it were, of the Claire-Vs-Carlson Show, the solo that we can hear you. Hello, show. Claire is out, and what excuses I'm going to make up for this segment. Let's see, I did rhinoplasty, I did a nose infection, and Claire's missing. Like Gone Girl. Think about that. Now, who did she frame? I hope it wasn't me. But anyways, we got a little bit more football and a little bit of non-football stuff as well. First one, near and dear to Claire's heart, Gary Kubiak gets the job in Denver. This after Denver and John Fox decided to consciously uncouple. And Kubiak spent a year as the Ravens offensive coordinator, said he was not interested in head coaching jobs. That might be mostly because the Jets were calling. 61 and 64 as the Texans head coach, including a playoff win with T.J. Jerome Yates at quarterback. And, of course, ties to Denver, Elway's backup for a number of years, and also a longtime offensive coordinator for Mike Shanahan and the Broncos, especially for those 2 Super Bowl runs. And, yeah, seemingly this is Elway's guy, completely catered to Gary Kubiak, turning over the reins. Peyton Manning still a question mark if he's going to come back. Said that we'll get the answer after his physical, and I don't know. We'll see. John Elway. The 2 press conferences, the one where he announced that John Fox and the Broncos had decided to part ways, where he called John Fox John Elway, and also the Gary Kubiak introduction presser where Elway talked about 75% of the time. You can tell he's a little bit of a narcissist, and by a little bit, I mean a whole lot of it. I mean, if you're in a city, an organization where they've been fawning over you ever since 1983, basically you can do no wrong, and you're I was talking to James Marilat of Mile High Sports the other day, and they call him Teflon John because nothing sticks to him. He survived Tebow. He got paid man in Denver. He signed a whole bunch of high-priced free agents, DeMarcus Ware, T.J. Ward, Aqib Talib. his drafts haven't been that great, and now he's run off John Fox as a head coach, who's won 4 straight division championships. And you can't sneeze at that. Yes, they got woodshedded in the Super Bowl and then also had 2 playoff failures this year included, but you can't really argue with those type of results. And it just seems like it was a whole ego match going on. The Broncos definitely did not seem prepared for the divisional round matchup where the Colts beat them. They also lose Adam Gase, who's apparently the cat's meow when it comes to offensive coordinator. And there's even some talk about him getting a head coaching job. And everyone talks about Kubiak and his zone blocking, one-cut running game and how he's always had semi-mobile quarterbacks to work in his offense. But I think that's too cookie-cutter-esque because Joe Flacco is not the most mobile guy in the world, and the Ravens' offense was markedly improved over Jim Caldwell the year previously. And then people always talked about that with Norv Turner when he came up here in Minnesota, where Norv is, he needs a big vertical stand in the pocket, vertical passing game threat at quarterback. But then we got Teddy Bridgewater, who's a lot of great things, but the first thing that comes to mind about Teddy Bridgewater would not be stand in the pocket, vertical passing quarterback. He's a lot of great things, but he's not that. And towards the end of the year, those two made it work. And I trust Gary Kubiak's offensive acumen enough to be able to handle working with Peyton Manning if he comes back. And especially since Peyton Manning runs his own offense anyways. And this is just going to benefit the Texans running game significantly. Gary Kubiak, Mike Shanahan, the whole Alandis Gary, Mike Anderson revolving doors of where it seems they could bring in anybody and rush for 1,000 yards behind that offensive line. And it continued in Houston where he turned undrafted free agent Arian Foster into a star, got some decent production out of Ben Tate. And then the Ravens last year, Ray Rice, bye Felicia. And then Justin Forsett, like the 30-year-old has a coming out party and rushes for his best year of his career. So you got to think if you're Mike Anderson, Jawan Thompson, maybe even Ryan Hillman a little bit, you got to be looking forward to this. Monte Ball too, I guess, if he still remains in the mix. But we'll see. Even with all those high-price additions on defense, Demaryius Thomas, Julius Thomas are free agents. Who knows if they stick around? And Peyton ends up retiring. It's the Brock Osweiler show, baby. Or since it's Kubiak, you can bring Matt Schaub over from the Raiders, and suddenly this 4 straight division title team becomes a 4-win team, and they go 4-12 next year. So, bye, John Elway. Sorry. Now, speaking of the coordinator shuffle, a couple of notable hires in the NFL. Mark Trestman replaces Kubiak as the Ravens offensive coordinator. Of course, he was the Bears head coach for the previous 2 years. Definitely not a head coach, but is an offensive wizard of sorts. The quarterback whisperer, even though he couldn't quite get to Jay Cutler, even though I don't think Jay Cutler was that open to listening, I guess. And joining John Fox in Chicago is former Broncos offensive coordinator Adam Gase, follows him over to the Monsters of the Midway, and also Vic Fangio, defensive coordinator of the 49ers, coming over after he got passed over for the 49ers job by defensive line coach Jim Tomsula. Probably wouldn't be thrilled about working for your former understudy, your former subordinate. So he comes over to Chicago. I'm not really thrilled about this because John Fox, I gave him grief before. He's not really the best in-game adjuster. He's not really the best at managing the clock. But these 2 coordinators I really like, and I think Chicago might get a turnaround quick with these 2 guys in there, but we'll see. Kyle Shanahan in at offense coordinator in Atlanta, coming over from Cleveland. And Cleveland's actually kicking the tires on Mike Martz. Could you imagine? That'd be so funny. But it's basically a foregone conclusion that Dan Quinn, once the Seahawks wrap up the Super Bowl, will get the head job in Atlanta, and those 2 have been tied together. So it is one of those odd situations where offensive coordinator gets hired before the head coach. And I do think that the hiring process is a little unfair, where if a team has success, they're going to, and you're a coordinator on that team, teams have to wait to hire you. They can't tab you with the job while your team is still alive. So if you're good at your job and your team makes it to the Super Bowl, you know, you could be hung out to dry for some of these jobs